Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public, the beautiful people here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, wherever you happen to be this evening and you're listening to this show. Good evening. My name is Mark Brantley. I'm the Premier of Nevis and also host of this show On the Mark. And we're here with you this evening from this hour, 8 o'clock, until 10 p.m. this evening. Each Wednesday we come from 8 to 10 and we use that opportunity to engage with the public, to have a conversation, to discuss matters that might be of importance to members of the public. And we hope through that to continue this very important journey that we have been on over this past 40 years of an independent country, and a journey to develop freedom of speech, a journey to strengthen our democracy. Freedom of speech, of course, is a critical aspect to any strong democracy, and so we try to do our own little part here. Let me go on record, as I often do, to thank the law firm of Daniel Brantley. They have sponsored this show now for over 15 years, and it is the only show of its kind in the Federation. 2 hours of primetime commercial free talk radio, and I'm very happy to them that we've been able to do this all these years together. I want to thank my good friend Weber Herbert and Von Radio for the opportunity to be here. They have allowed access to the airwaves all these years in order for us to engage on this very important journey, a journey that strengthens our democracy, a journey that seeks to enhance, a journey that seeks to engage with our people in a way that is uplifting. We have tested times on the show sometimes. People know that I'm quite opinionated, and many of our callers are equally opinionated. But I like to say, let us disagree if we must, but we need not be disagreeable. We have to, in this country, develop the ability to speak to each other, to engage with each other, even when we do not agree with each other. That is very important. If we do not, then I think we get even more tribal, and the politics and the divisions that we have will continue to widen. And so, for me, it is important on this show that you do not call simply because you agree with me. You call because you have an opinion. And once that opinion is stated, and stated respectfully, it is done in a way that we can engage in some form of dialogue, that we can engage in a conversation. I think that it strengthens all of us. You make me better, I make you better, and of course, the listeners are made better as well. Of course, we come, all of us have our own biases. We come and we say this is the way that this is, and this is the way we see it, and we're all entitled to our opinion, but we're not entitled to our own facts. And oftentimes what I try to do is to ensure that the record is correct. If there are difficulties in the country, then let us discuss them. Not many leaders anywhere expose themselves on a regular basis to this level of interaction with the public. In fact, I can't think of any leader anywhere in the region or sub-region that has a regular engagement as I have done over the last multi-years. In fact, this show is, as I've said, over a decade and a half old. And I'm still here through the grace of God. Von Radio is still here, allowing me this opportunity. Daniel Brantley is still sponsoring the show, and we're able to engage. And so I say thank you to all who have made it possible, and thank you to all of those callers. One caller, for example, calls in each night with a scripture. And many people say to me, who's that person and what arrangement you have with them? And the answer is that I have no arrangement with them, that they thought that this was their way of contributing. And I thank them, and I thank all who call, and many who don't call but make this show their place on a Wednesday. I thank them as well. I have a good friend in Boston who said to me that he comes home in the afternoons from work and he puts on Von Radio as soon as he comes home, because he doesn't want any opportunity that he might miss it, any chance that he might miss the show, can't get on, or some difficulty, so he puts it on. And I met another young lady who said she's of Nevisian descent, but not from Nevis. But she said she knew my voice. She felt like she grew up on my voice because her parents always have the show going. And so she grew up listening to On the Mark. And so I thank so many in the UK, in Canada, places like Kitchener. I know we have a lot of Nevisians all across Canada. And for friends and family, wherever you are, I truly, truly am grateful. We have listeners in places like Belize and Grenada and well, certainly in Montserrat and Station, Sable, and those places. But we have listeners who are not necessarily connected to St. Kitts and Nevis, but who nevertheless tune in because they see some value in this show. And so here at Von Radio, they say only the best will do. We do not always live up to that standard, but I can assure you that we always try. And so thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the show. For all of our friends who are in Guyana, I say good evening to them. I know that many of them listen. Those in places like Berbice, Buxton, wherever you are, good evening to you. Good evening to our friends and family all across the region, our students studying in the UVI and in Trinidad, at the St. Augustine campus at the University of the West Indies, and the other universities at the Mona campus in Jamaica, at Cayville in Barbados. For those students who are now going off to study, I wish them all the very best. For those who are returning, I wish them continued success. And so we have, I think, a few things to talk about this evening. I will start by sending some birthday greetings. I'm told that this young lady is celebrating her birthday tomorrow. Her name is Alva Brown, and she is celebrating her birthday tomorrow. Alva, if you're listening, and if you're not listening, I hope somebody tells you that I'm sending you all the love and greetings in the world. Happy birthday to you, and I wish you continued blessings and many, many more years of good health and happiness. And for anybody else out there who's celebrating, let me wish you a happy birthday. For those who might be in some spot of distress, if you've lost a loved one, if you have some sickness, if you're suffering in some way, please accept my condolences, please accept my sympathies, and let us hope that we all can continue to rally with each other and be with each other, comfort each other, celebrate each other as we try to create a better society. Let me start the show by also indicating how grateful we are that a number of youngsters who I gather went to Anguilla on a boat trip for something that the young people refer to as a poker run, that they were lost at sea and were safely returned, found and safely returned to Nevis and to their families. And so I would want to express my very warm appreciation to all of those involved in the search, to the authorities in Saba, I think it was, who found them and gave them some comfort based on the reports that I've seen in the media. And in any event, these youngsters are now home safely with their families. I could only imagine the trauma that the families were encountering as they wondered what would have happened to their loved ones. And so we're very happy that this was a happy ending. I am, however, to urge our boaters to please, when they are going out to sea, to use modern technology that is available. One of the things that I know is available is GPS and GPS tracking. That way they can be found if there is a problem. The sea is a great friend, but also a ferocious enemy. And I know that those who like the sea, many who make a living out to sea, they can attest to the fact that it can change and can become dangerous in an instant. Engines can fail, leaks can develop, whatever it is. I think we need to have proper equipment, proper safety equipment, GPS, proper communication, radios and the like, so that when distress comes, we can call in and get some rescue, get some assistance. And so I am very grateful for this result. It could clearly have been a lot worse, and we are all so happy that it did not and was not worse, and that these youngsters are now safe. And I hope that others who are on the ocean, making a living on the ocean, or just going to sea for leisure, that they will take all precautions so that they remain safe. We can't, of course, say thank you to everyone and forget God, because clearly God's hand was in saving these youngsters. And so I say thanks and praise be to God as well. I believe all of us should be grateful, and all of us say thank you for this good result in the circumstances. And so a happy result, and we are all very happy for that. On Sunday, this Sunday past, the Concerned Citizens Movement, the party that I'm privileged to lead, that party held its convention. It would have elected its executive, and it would have returned me as party leader. I am very grateful to the party for its unanimous support, in returning me as party leader, that they still see some value in me and in my leadership. And I would want to thank the members of the executive, those outgoing, those incoming. I want to thank the rank and file of the party and the various constituency groups for their participation. I think that we had an excellent convention, that people showed up, that people were there, that the energy was good, and that I am confident that the support for the Concerned Citizens movement is still at an all-time high. We have had our ups and downs, to be sure, but as I pointed out in my speech, that this party, since its formation back in 1987, I think it was, this party has been a consistent force for good. In fact, the Honorable Vance Emery of blessed memory won his first election in 1987 and won every election he contested in his constituency since. We won the general election in 1992, and from 1992 until 2023, by my tally, we have had 16 general elections in Nevis. 16 general elections, federal and local combined. And of those 16 federal elections, the CCM, the Concerned Citizens Movement, has won 15 out of 16. The NRP managed one victory in 2006, and since then they have not smelled victory again. So that speaks volumes for how the people of Nevis have seen the CCM, both under the leadership of Vance Emery of blessed memory and now under my leadership, that they've continued to support in overwhelming fashion the Concerned Citizens Movement. Not only have we won the elections by winning the majority of seats, but we've also been able to win the popular vote. And currently, as we know, the party has created history in many respects, because we won all the federal seats in the elections of 2020 and again in the federal election of 2022. And we have on more than one occasion won 4 of the available seats for the NIA administration. So currently we have a 3-2, or maybe I should say a 3-1-1, because the two are not together. But the party remains strong, and I really use the occasion, particularly in the closed session, to have a conversation with the CCM rank and file and to say to them that we are a proud party, we are a strong party, but our people need to own it. It is yours. CCM is not Mark Brantley, CCM is not Alexis Jeffers, it's not Spencer Brano, Eric Evelyn, Latoya Jones. Those might be the candidates, but CCM belongs to all of us. And I believe it is for all of us to own it, to own the mistakes when they happen, because mistakes will happen and do happen, but also to own own the considerable success that this party has had. And it has had considerable electoral success and considerable success in terms of delivering for the people of Nevis. And so I want to thank all of those who came out. We had a wonderful convention, and afterwards we had a wonderful get-together, and we commixed and commingled, that phrase I like to borrow, in the courtyard there at NEPAC. And I think that we had a wonderful time. And so I want to thank the caterers, those who attended to the music, the sound system, the streaming, all of those who were involved. I want to thank the small committee that we had put together, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Honorable Latoya Jones, for their indefatigable efforts in ensuring that we had an excellent convention, that all that needed to be done was done, and that we were there. And the party people turned out, the party faithful were there, and I'm truly, truly grateful to all who came and made this a really wonderful occasion. We used the opportunity to reflect, but we also used the opportunity to generate that spirit and to recreate that spirit, rekindle that spirit of togetherness that has always made the CCM great. And so we look forward now to more activities in the communities as we go out and we reach out to more people. The CCM, as I like to say, is a big tent. We have room for everyone, and we welcome one and all to come and join this party, join a winning party. If you want a party that knows how to win, that has demonstrated it knows how to win, and more than that, has used the confidence of the people at the polls and transformed that into performance on the ground, then we ask that you join us. As I talk about performance on the ground, I would wish to alert the public that we have started the work on the bypass road. Everyone knows that this is a bit of stretch of road that has created some difficulty because it's an old stretch of road. It was done, I believe, over 20 years ago. And that road is the most widely used road, I think, on the island, because it takes us there from the roundabout at Valuemart all the way up Pump Road and then pass on the top of Government Road, the foot of Hamilton, and takes you around to Pinnies, where it rejoins the Island Main Road in that area. So to bypass Charlestown, many people take that road, trucks and heavy equipment take that road, as the case may be, rather than driving through town. And as a result, the road has shown some wear and tear. We have decided that it is time to resurface that road and to reconstruct that road. And we're doing a project that is going to go from, I believe it is from there by the Water Department or thereabouts, all the way around to Pinnies. And that will tie into the new road that now exists, that takes us from the Pinnies area and onwards into St. James, and obviously in the other direction into Charlestown. We have been working very assiduously to a plan that we have in terms of road network and road construction, and we continue to build out the infrastructure. That road was one that we decided to pay some attention to and to give it some priority, simply because it's such a widely used road. The reason I'm raising it tonight is because it is again demonstrative of this government's continued efforts to make the lives of our people better. The road has started, and they have started with some drainage, trying to solve some drainage issues, and we have as a result some disruptions to the traffic. And so I am appealing to the general public to be generous with us in terms of their patience, to understand that we will have some disruptions. Construction is always dusty and noisy. To the residents in that area along that stretch, that they be patient with us. For those who are accustomed to using that road as a quick around, if you will, a quick get around of Charlestown, that you now possibly have to go through Charlestown, and so traffic will be diverted. But we have been assured by the contractor that the road construction there should not go beyond 3 months or so, and so we are optimistic that we will have that done in good order. And certainly we expect that by the time that we get past Independence and of course into October, November, that we should have that brand new road available to us. And so certainly we look forward to what's happening there, and we look forward to that being completed in due course. And we thank the contractor. We have given the project to Surrey Paving. Surrey Paving would have just finished the Island Main Road going in the area of St. James, taking us from there at Cliff Dwellers and all the way over to Ex-Petrol in the north. And we have decided that we will allow them to do this road as well, being that Public Works is otherwise engaged. As I segue to Public Works and the engagement, I am grateful for the continued patience the people of Butlers and the people of Bath as those projects now start to come to a close. We get into the finishing stages. In Bath, I have promised the people of Bath that we will do some additional works there, and I intend to keep that promise. We have also now, after much lobbying by the Honorable Latoya Jones, she has been very, very adamant that she needs to be able to demonstrate to the people of St. Thomas's some works that she has been requesting and been advocating very strongly for. So we have now started what is referred to as the Banjo Road, as we are going up there in Cahoons. That road is well and truly on the way, and I'm told that that should be finished. We are hopeful before Independence, which is September 19th. So we know that that's a few weeks away. We're hopeful that that road, they're doing the curbs and slippers now, and we expect that road should be done in short order. Thereafter, we have some other projects that we have to take care of, and we will be rolling those out as we roll into the end of this year, and which will mark the first year of this new administration for a second term. So I'm very grateful for that I can bring that report of things that we're doing in terms of infrastructure. Now, the cabinet would have met today, and I have been given the green light to disclose to the public that there is a program that we shall be shortly rolling out. And I feel very proud of this, and I will explain why. During the campaign, we went into the byways and highways, into the villages, into the towns and the hamlets all across Nevis. And I spent some time in the Hamilton area, and I was able to gather some young people in the Hamilton area and to have a conversation with them to try to determine what their needs were, what their concerns were, what the issues were. And one single mother raised with me that there was a definite need in Nevis for some assistance in terms of childcare. That the cost of daycare was in many cases beyond the capacity of young mothers, many of them single mothers who were struggling to do right by their children. And I listened. And in fact, so persuaded I was that I went back and spoke to the team. And if you look at the CCM manifesto for the last election, we made a commitment that we would create some daycare facilities to assist those mothers who needed that assistance. I say needed, and I want to make it very clear that our efforts are targeted at those who need, those families who are low-income families and who require that assistance. It is not for those who can afford it but decide the government giving something, so let's take it. No, it is for those that require the assistance, those families that are in need. And so we were trying to see how we can do this. And of course, the first thinking on it was that we would try to build a daycare center, a government-run daycare center. It means that we would have to find the land and find the resources to build, and then of course find the staff and all of that. And then the Honorable Janelle Nisbet, our Minister of Health, Gender and Social Empowerment, she and her team came up with an alternative, which I think was brilliant, and I give them all credit for that. And she came to the cabinet and she said, instead of trying to build a place, why not develop instead a system, a voucher system, where the government can simply pay for the daycare for these parents who found themselves in difficulty. And I'm very pleased to announce that we will shortly launch a brand new program where the government, the Nevis Island Administration, will be paying up to $300 per month per child to families that need that assistance in relation to daycare. You will hear more about it as the Honorable Minister, I believe, will have a rollout event, but I'm told that it will be for children between the ages of 0 to 3, and that it will be up to 2 children per household, so that if you have 3 or 4 children, we'll only be able to sponsor a maximum of 2 at a time, and that it will be up to $300 for the vouchers per month as we try to ease the burden on single mothers in particular. I say single mothers, I should say single parents, but the truth is that the statistics suggest that the vast majority of single parents are in fact single mothers. And we understand it is difficult for mothers to be out there working, having young children. They need care for those young children. And when this, going back to my engagement in Hamilton, when this young mother explained to me what her salary was, and the fact that she had, I think it's either 1 or 2 children that required daycare, and the cost of that daycare, it really, really spoke to me. It really tugged at my heartstrings, because I realized that we needed some program targeted to help those individuals. I also mention this because I feel that this is the purest form of democracy. It is the best example of leaders, governments listening, hearing, understanding, caring, and then acting. And I believe that that is important. That when we come around and we get the opportunity to engage, that people in the community who have concerns can bring those concerns. If you don't want to come to the office, we understand. We come to you from time to time. But wherever and whenever, to bring those concerns, because I credit this young lady in Hamilton for this idea, for bringing her concern, indicating that this is her situation and she's not alone in that situation. And as a result of that, we were able to put it into our manifesto that this is something that we will do if re-elected. The people re-elected us, gave us the majority vote, gave us the majority of seats, and here we are today in a position to say that we are now ready to roll out the program after some considerable study and after some innovation that was engaged in by the Honorable Minister and her team. And I am delighted that we are able to offer this relief to our young single parents and to say to them that this is yet another example of the government seeking to respond to genuine need in the community, to genuine concerns in the community. Proper daycare for children where the parents can be at work and have some comfort knowing that their children are being taken care of, but also knowing that the cost of it is being subsidized, I believe is of tremendous benefit. And this is how part of the innovation, rather than the government seeking, as we had originally conceptualized this, to build a daycare center and to run it and to do all that, this approach instead allows us to partner with the existing daycare centers. So the government will not be competing with them. The government instead will be supporting those parents who have children at the existing daycares that require that assistance. And so the details on the program will come, but I believe this is a win-win-win situation for all. And I won't call her name, I think she knows if she's listening, because she was the one and she was very passionate about it, very persuasive. And I thank her and hope that she and other single mothers, she and other single parents will definitely reap the benefit from this type of program. I again congratulate the Honorable Minister and her team, because I believe that this is really some excellent innovation and innovative thinking on their part that has allowed us to be at this juncture. And so you'll hear more on it, but I felt tonight, having been given the green light by the Cabinet, that I could mention it. It is something that we have been working on, something that we've been discussing, and something that finally we're in a position to launch. And so we look forward very much to that relief program for parents, for children 0 to 3 years old who are entering daycare or who are at daycare, to take some of that burden off of those parents and to provide them with some much needed relief. Nevis has never had that type of program before institutionalized here. We have had ad hoc assistance, but nothing that was set out as a policy prescription, and I'm proud yet again to bring relief. That to me is what governments are supposed to do. Governments are supposed to listen. Governments are supposed to come up with solutions. Governments are supposed to act to solve problems. And governments are definitely supposed to assist those individuals who need that assistance most. And that is exactly what we are seeking to do on this occasion. So again, I feel very proud that we are able to undertake that particular endeavor. I feel very good in terms of how it came about. This is a very good example of bottom-up policy, not top-down. This wasn't some people sitting, some technocrats sitting in a room and saying, oh, let us do this. No, this was coming from the grassroots, so to speak, from a mother who said, listen, I am in this situation, we need this relief, and so can the government provide some assistance. And so we have responded. The elections were in December of last year. This is now August, and we're now ready to roll out that program. I think that that is a good result, and I thank again the young mother who raised it with us, and I thank again the people of Nevis who would have looked at our manifesto, seen the commitments that we were making, and gave us the opportunity to execute on those commitments. I have said time and time again that we don't know what commitments were made on the other side, because the 2022 December local elections was the first election in the history of Nevis that I'm aware of that there was no manifesto published by a major political party. And so the Nevis Reformation Party had no manifesto. Put differently, they made no commitments to the people of Nevis. We, in the usual tradition, would have published our manifesto, we would have published our ideas, and we keep going back to that as a touchstone. And this project is one of those manifesto pledges that we would have made, that we can now say, once it is launched, that this is certainly something that is of benefit to the people of Nevis. And I know that single parents across this island who have been struggling with daycare will see some benefit and see some worth and some value in this. And I say, to God be the glory. Let us continue to work together. Let us continue to make life the best that we can make it in this little island for all of us. And so the details in terms of how to apply, in terms of what the rules are going to be, all of those will be worked out, and the minister and her team will have a launch. But as I said, I was given permission that I could say so tonight, that this is something that we have embarked upon, we have decided upon, we have set out, and that this will start very shortly. And so we look forward very much. I'm saying shortly, in a space of maybe another 2.5 weeks or so, they should be rolled out. I think the date I was given was September 4th. And so we expect that this will be rolled out in good order. We have Independence 40, ladies and gentlemen, that is approaching. And we are certainly engaging with the federal government. We want this to be a grand affair. We know that we are having a large number of dignitaries and countries that are visiting, coming in from all across the world to be with us on our 40th anniversary of independence. And we certainly look forward to engaging. We look forward to that being a celebration. I believe that as a country, we have a lot that we can be proud of. As a young country of only 40 years old, we have much that we can be proud of. I think a lot of us sometimes are quick to condemn and quick to criticize our little country. We have for a long time felt that because of our size, we were not able to compete, we were not able to be the best. But I believe that that is changing. And when I look at the number of various citizens from various countries that are now moving to Nevis and St. Kitts, who are now living here, making a life for themselves here, I think that all of this speaks to what we've been able to create here in the Federation. People don't move and go to places where there's no opportunity. People move and go to places where there is opportunity for work, for advancement, for development, for them to own a home, for them to own a business, as the case may be. And just as we ourselves migrated to distant lands for better opportunity, so now people are coming here for better opportunity. Some see it and are fearful of it. I see it and I embrace it, because I feel that the history of humankind is a history of movement. It has always been so. We have always had migration, and so we must welcome it and look at the fact that so many are choosing St. Kitts and Nevis and ask ourselves why. And the answer, my friends, could only be that something good is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have our problems. Certainly we do. We have projects that we would like to execute that we are not quite there yet. Some projects are delayed. Some have to be done in phases. But we are progressing. And I believe that people see that happening. Our job numbers are up. I gave a report just a few weeks ago in the Parliament here in Nevis, and I was able to set out that job numbers are up, the economy is up, revenue receipts are up, VAT receipts are up, returns on tourism are up, and in some cases up significantly. So we recognize that there is a certain momentum that we have here in terms of the economy, and we are hopeful that that will continue. We're seeing more small businesses open their doors. We're seeing more activity in the local economy. We're seeing this year for the first time, certainly in my memory, that I'm seeing that we still have hotels showing decent bookings all the way into August. Now only by May the hotels are empty. That has not been the case. And you go around now, you go to the bars. I was just there at Sunshine's on Friday, and there was a large cohort of persons there, visitors. In fact, I met a large family, Nevisian descent, but who were living in Australia, and it was such a beautiful thing to meet them. In fact, one of the grandchildren, her name was Nevis, and I thought to myself, what a wonderful, wonderful name to have, and to call one's child Nevis as an ode to this beautiful little island from whence that family hails. And so they had relatives from Australia, relatives from the UK, large numbers of people, and it was such an absolute pleasure meeting them and engaging with them, because this is who we are. This is who we are. And I believe the island has been performing well. We have a lot of projects that are ongoing, some nearing completion. We look at the Wally project there, the water taxi facility, that is nearing completion now. I'm told they will start the painting shortly on the building. So we expect that that will be in service in short order. The parking lot, just today we discussed that work in terms of hard construction will start shortly as well. We are slowly getting this island to the state where we need it. The airport project, that is definitely on the cards. We continue our negotiations with landowners in the area in order to ensure that we have what we need to make this project possible. And I thank the Honorable Alexis Jeffers for his efforts in that regard. The infrastructural revolution that we're seeing on this island, roads and network of roads and the build out of our infrastructure, I want to thank the Honorable Spencer Brand for his efforts in that regard. The strides that we've made in education, many of us look at these things and we take them for granted. Do we know, do we realize in Nevis that we are now teaching Mandarin in our schools, that we now have some of our children who are speaking Mandarin, who have taken tests in Mandarin as a second language? Do we recognize what that does for those children, how it opens up new avenues and widens their perspective and their global worldview, that these children can then go on to study in countries such as Taiwan, that they can engage with the world, that they now have a language that is a valuable language, that even if they decide to stay here and do business with mainland China or with Taiwan, they can now speak the language and converse with persons there? Do we recognize that we are on the cusp of something truly revolutionary in terms of our education? We will shortly be engaging a delegation to go to Estonia. The reason for that is that we have committed again to introduce coding in our schools here, where we want our young people to be able to code, to be able to have the knowledge and the expertise to create apps and to create video games and to do all of those things, because we believe that's the wave of the future. We want our people to know about artificial intelligence, our people to learn about all of these things. We cannot sit back and allow the world to move past us. And a government that is thinking, that is progressive, that is seeking to put policies in place, is seeking to educate and re-educate and continuously educate our population, is a government that is looking to the future. All of these things are happening. Not all of them have a lot of fanfare, but they're all happening on this island. And I want to thank the Honorable Troy Liebert for his leadership in the Ministry of Education thus far. When we think about agriculture, we think about housing. I'm told that the housing, a small project we're doing at Rice's, that has started. We continue with housing at Madden's. We continue with housing here in Craddock Road. We continue with housing all around Nevis that's being done by the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. We continue to see a rollout of agriculture. In fact, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, the Deputy Premier, now Minister of Agriculture, would have done a recent video. And that video went viral. In fact, I had calls from persons on our sister St. Kitts who said they were blown away by what they saw in terms of food production on the island of Nevis. Of course, I often said to the Deputy Premier that he has to give some credit to the Honorable Alexis Jeffers who was before him, because the Honorable Alexis Jeffers was really the architect of a lot of what we are seeing now. The Honorable Alexis Jeffers is no longer there as the minister, but the Honorable Eric Evelyn is leading the charge. We look at what we're doing in terms of poultry. We've already acquired the processing facility, the processing equipment, forgive me. We now need to just proceed to do what we're doing in terms of setting this up, and I'm advised that the Ministry of Agriculture will shortly be engaging with potential farmers in a follow-up meeting. We have had one meeting before, but now to follow up to let you know where we are. This is a government that is progressive, a government that is moving forward, a government that is seeking to get done the things that are necessary to move this island forward. And that is what we're doing. Along the way, there will be mistakes, there will be mishaps, there will be areas that can be improved. But just as I commented on this young lady who came and spoke and persuaded me and the government that this was the way to go in terms of daycare for single parents, just so we are continually listening and adjusting and ensuring that we are a government that is fit for purpose. There's a lot of noise out there. Noise being made day and night. In fact, some of the noise makers, that appears to be their calling. They're not working anywhere. They're not contributing in any way. They're not seeking to find work. They're not seeking to open a little business to employ somebody. They're seeking to go on radio and on social media, using fake profiles and doing all of that to attack. That is what they're about. Character assassination and attacks. And they're seeking to attack everybody. I see one of them, for example. It appears that he is taking his time meticulously and attacking all of the business houses one by one on the island of Nevis. And all of them he's trying somehow to link and make these malicious accusations against people in government, decent people. And I smiled to myself because I said, I wonder if sometimes these NRP activists understand that when they attack institution A, that institution A has people working there, Nevisians, they vote too. You think they and their family don't vote? And you think they don't know that you're seeking to destroy their livelihood? They know. They see and they understand. And I smile to myself because some of the institutions being attacked, some very strong NRP supporters work at those institutions. And I laughed to myself because I said, what if those institutions, as a consequence of all of these attacks, were to close their doors? What then? You see, there's this, this scorched earth. Just burn everything to the ground. That's the approach. But that is not my approach. Building a country, building an economy, building an education system, a health system, a system of equity and fairness in a country, making sure you have safety nets for those that need them, being kind to our elderly and to those who are differently abled. All of those require time. But to do them, you must have the right attitude and the willingness to work. You must have the compassion for people, the desire to help. Absent that, you're just craving for power, hungry for power, to get in, to get your hands on the government treasury, to get back that snout in the trough. Because some people, and look at them, I don't need to call names, but I could have a list. Since the day they left government, what gainful work have they employed themselves in? What? Look around. We're a small society. Ask yourself the question. You get up every morning and you go to work to try to provide for your family. That young mother who spoke to me in Hamilton, and young mothers all across this island, they get up, some are working 2 jobs, hustling to ensure that they can put food on their table and take care of their families. And you have people lecturing you every day who now work no way. Them now work, them now look for work. But they're telling you that they have the solutions for you. You get up and you go to work every day. You get up and you're doing the best that you can to support your family, sustain your communities. They don't get up every day and do anything but say, let me go on Facebook and create some mischief. That is their job. But yet they tell you they want to be in charge of you. They want to govern you. Give them the opportunity so they could be in a position to make decisions for you. But them now work. And them now look work. You out there hustling every day to try and put food on your table. I don't know how they're putting food on their tables. Maybe when they were in government, they took enough to allow them not to work now, because some of them have marveled at the fact that they ain't chop stroke, as the old people say, since they leave government. They ain't chop stroke nowhere. Ain't working nowhere. But constantly talking about what is being done wrong and what needs to be done. But in their own lives, their only success that they've had is in failure. It's the only thing they've succeeded at. And so I keep saying it because I believe that our people need to understand this. If a man keeps coming to you and telling you he could do this for you, he could do that for you, he could do that for you, It's like those people. They say they what they call them card readers and fortune tellers and all kind of thing. And people go and pay them money. You know what people pay them money for? People pay them money and say, could you give me the lotto numbers, the winning numbers for the lotto? You know, stop and ask yourself, well, if the fortune teller know the winning numbers for the lotto, he will play them for himself, isn't it? He will play them for himself. But you're going to pay the fortune teller to give you the numbers for the lotto. Because you want to win the lotto. But if the fortune tellers knew what the numbers were, you don't think he would pay them for himself and win the lotto for himself? We need to wake up. And we need to start to say to some of these commentators whose only success in life so far is failure, listen, you're not what the people of Nevis need. Let some young people rise up. Let some people with actual ideas rise up. Some of you, go long back home, go sit down in the morning. Because it makes no sense, this constant cacophony of sound and fury, which at the end of the day contributes absolutely nothing. Today you attack TDC, tomorrow you attack hospitals, then you attack some bank, then you attack some other business. Attack. Why? Everything in Nevis is bad. Everything. I saw the black American actress, the beautiful Nia Long, was here. And I went to Nia Long's Instagram account. You know what Nia Long wrote? Nevis, you have my heart. That's what she wrote to millions of followers. Nevis, you have my heart. That touched me. Because I said, imagine this famous actress is coming here, staying in Nevis, saying to the world, Nevis, you have my heart. And we got people here who say they love Nevis, who tell the world every day that Nevis is the worst place in the world. I want you all to think about these things, you know, to reflect on these things. This woman posted to the world, Nevis, you have my heart. But those who say they love Nevis and they want to be in government in Nevis, go on every medium available, social media, radio, you name it, and they say Nevis is the worst place in the world. I remember listening to one of them, and he said, if you want to die, go up to Alexandra Hospital. Those words are seared into my memory. If you want to die, you go Alexandra Hospital. Alexandra Hospital is the only hospital in Nevis. And Alexandra Hospital is manned by professionals, doctors and nurses. In fact, we have more professionals and more specialties at the hospital now than at any other time in the history of this island. We have more equipment, state-of-the-art CT scan, mammogram machine. And yet, the view of one of these NRP spokespeople who looking to get back in government is, I must go up the fire I want to did. But you know, God is a good God. God is a good God. Because when sickness comes, and it's there for all of us, I have seen a lot of them make a beeline for the same Alexandra. And Alexandra, that hospital, the professionals that are there, the equipment that is there, has saved many lives. Has saved many lives. I reflected, and I reflect on a lot of things. Some of them get the treatment is so good. Doctors up there bring them back from the brink. Work hard to the grace of God. Bring them back. And at the end of the day, they can't even say thank you, job well done, because that is at odds with their party and what their party is saying. Because their party is telling the world that if you want to dead, go up to Alexandra. These are people who say they love Nevis. Everything on this island is bad. Every single thing is bad. Not one word to say, well done, Nevis. Not them. And this famous actress comes here and she says to the world, Nevis, you have my heart. If only Nevis could have the heart of some others, I believe it will be a much better island and a much better place. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my soliloquy. We have now at 5 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock to open our lines at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I'm inviting your calls for those of you who are out there who want to be a part of this show, that you can call in. You can talk about anything I've talked about. You can talk about none of what I've talked about and talk about what you want to talk about. However you do it, I just asked you to call and be respectful. You don't have to agree with anything I've said, but if you disagree, let us not be disagreeable. That is our rule of thumb here, where only the best will do here on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. 160 on your AM dial, www.vonradio.com, and of course we're streaming on Facebook and YouTube as well. If you're just tuning in, my name is Mark Brantley and this is On the Mark, your edition for the 16th of August 2023, and we are here now, started at 8, so we have maybe an hour and 5 minutes left, and we're taking your calls now at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Now, while I wait for the phones to ring and hope that some people call in, if not, I'll be forced to talk for 2 hours. And so let me get going then as we wait. But I was reflecting today. Let me take this call then before I go to my reflection. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mark.
Good evening.
How are you doing? How are you doing tonight?
I am fine, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to catch my voice, but I want to touch base on the Alzheimer Hospital because, I mean, I could testify. My name is Kino Claxton.
Hey, Kino, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm going to touch base on the Alzheimer Hospital. I would have walked through at the beginning of my incident. I think I shot over back in 2018. It was a 3-minute struggle to go to the hospital. I mean, it was for the doctors and the nurses that kept me there until from the Saturday morning and up until the Thursday that I left the island to go to Jamaica. You know, I was shot across my head, my hand and everything, but they did a wonderful job up there. So I could testify that the hospital is really working and functioning.
Well, thank you for that, brother. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Okay, man. All right.
Still in pain. I have a lot of surgery still coming up, but I'm just giving thanks to the end. I fight until the end, All
right, brother.
All right, then. Have a good night.
Thank you for that, man. And thank you for that drink during Culturama.
Anytime, Mr. Mark. You don't know any back.
All right. Okay, brother. Thank you. All right. Cheers. All right. We're taking your calls on 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I was commenting while we wait for the phones that the Honorable Deputy Premier, Honorable Eric Evelyn, he has responsibility for agriculture, and he was commenting to the cabinet that he was in touch with some regional organization, and they were saying how impressed they were that the island of Nevis is actually leading. I want people to listen now. The island of Nevis is actually leading the sub-region in shade house production for agriculture. I'll come back to that. Let me go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night. Yeah, good night.
Yes, good night.
I've got a situation here. You remember some time ago that the Prime Minister announced that there would be a reduction in the interest rate for student loans from 9% to 5%.
Yes.
Now what's happening is that the students in question have been called in one by one for interviews. And it seems as if the Development Bank is telling them that the interest rate would go down to 5%, but they have to rewrite the entire loan so that legal fees are part of the arrangement. And I think that is very unfortunate.
So you're saying that they would have to go through the whole process again?
The whole process again, The guarantors would have to go back and sign the whole thing over.
Oh well, that I think is very unfortunate. I'm not. I wasn't aware that they were taking that approach. I thought it's just the interest rate changing.
Well, I thought the interest rate would just change, and then they would just rewrite the agreement to pay a lesser amount, and then you sign and you move on. But it's a whole different approach, and I'm speaking from first-hand knowledge because I was there today.
Oh wow!
Because when my son told me, I said, no, this can't be right. So I went to the bank myself.
Well, I'm happy you've called in and aired that publicly, because I certainly will be engaging with the federal government. They, of course, control the development bank, but I didn't anticipate, because rather than bringing relief, then that is costing more for people.
Well, it's just putting some free money in somebody's hand. And what I'm saying here, I mean, I'm not talking $200. I'm talking 1,000 plus. So if you are in a situation where you have two loans, because sometimes the 100,000 really can't cut it over 4 years. You may have to go back for a second loan. So each one of these loans would be rewritten, and you would have to pay a separate legal fee, which amounts to over $2,000. I mean, you can't tell me that you're helping students and still penalizing them for giving them a lower interest rate. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, as I said, thank you very much for that. The devil is usually in the details, and I was very, very pleased that the new Prime Minister had reduced, because I couldn't understand, if we are saying that we are interested in education, why we charging students 9% on a loan from Development Bank. I just couldn't understand that. Development Bank, like the name suggests, is really about the development of the country, and it's largely public funds that they have at place with them to invest in the development of the country. And so reducing it to 5% was certainly a giant step forward. But if what you're telling me is correct, that they're forcing people now to go and redo all the documentation, as you say, it means that the lawyers are making some money. But it is putting pressure on families when the opposite should be the case.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I couldn't go speak for this one, so I thought I should just put it out there.
Well, thank you very much for that. People have heard, and I will undertake publicly to take that up with the federal government, because that was never my understanding.
Much appreciated.
All right, thank you for that, caller. And this is why I think these shows have such value, because people are listening. Just so that the public understands, the Development Bank had student loans at 9%. 9%. And even though the previous government had made some adjustments, those who still had borrowed money before at 9% continued to pay 9%. The new government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Drew, made an announcement that the loans would move the interest rate from 9% to 5%. I thought that was tremendous, and I have publicly congratulated Dr. Drew and his government for making that move. But this caller now, a voice I recognize, and he's saying that he went there today, and that whilst, yes, the interest rate has been reduced, that families are now being told that they have to go through the entire process again, meaning they have to go through the whole process of the agreement, the loan agreement, signing, the guarantors have to come in to sign, and the lawyers, etc., and the legal fees that are associated with that. Now, I don't know why that is. That seems odd to me, because if you're just adjusting the interest rate, then you adjust the interest rate. It's a policy prescription, and that interest rate is adjusted downwards for the benefit. It happens all the time, caller. I mean, I recall when I got a mortgage to build my house many years ago, my interest rate was higher than it was when I got to the end of the mortgage. And the rate would have been adjusted, because rates move up and down, as you know. But I was able to benefit from a lower rate towards the end of that mortgage period, and I don't recall having to go in to redo all the documentation, because, as this caller is properly pointing out, every new document you have to sign, you have to pay legal fees. So I feel that is probably something in the details which needs to be ironed out, because the whole purpose behind this, as I understood it, was to make things easier for families, and why people who have done documentation already, had sureties and all that in place, need to go back over that entire process just because the interest rate has changed is really beyond me. I think all you need is an addendum, a slight addendum to say the interest rate is now from 9 to 5. I don't even think you need an addendum properly. If it's now a matter of policy, you just change it in the system, and so the interest rate will now be calculated at the reduced rate of 5% rather than 9%. So I think you've raised a very important point, caller, and thank you. As I said, this is the value of shows like this. We're able to put these kinds of issues on the front burner, and hopefully those who can make a difference will. But I undertake to take this up because I myself was not aware that this was what is being told to persons by the Development Bank. This is On the Mark. We have just about an hour left, and we are taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. Incidentally, I just got a few messages from the United States. People say that they're tuned in, and so I thank them for tuning in and thank them for being a part of the show. So we're taking your calls. But going back while I wait for the phones to ring, for the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who was commenting that this regional agricultural, an individual from a regional agricultural institute was indicating that Nevis was so far ahead of its peers in the sub-region, that is in the OECS region, in relation to shade house production. And I just feel really proud. In fact, we had a delegation here just yesterday from the United States Ambassador, Her Excellency Linda Tagliatella, who's a very dear friend of mine. She came with the Director of Caribbean Affairs at the State Department. The person was on the Eastern Caribbean desk at the State Department, and also some other functionaries who came with us, part of a delegation. And we had a working lunch yesterday, and I was had the opportunity, the Honorable Eric Evelyn and the Honorable General Nisbet accompanied me, had the opportunity to brief the ambassador and her team on projects that were ongoing here. They were particularly interested in the geothermal project. As the public knows, the United States government has been intricately involved in this project for many years now, providing technical advice and support. And so they were very interested in knowing where that was and how they can help. In fact, we then led an entire delegation, joined with NEVLEC up at the site in Hamilton to have a look at that project and to look at how we can take next steps with their involvement and their assistance. But we took the opportunity then to talk about food security and to talk about agriculture. And I felt very proud to listen to the report from the Honorable Eric Evelyn to the U.S. delegation about how now our self-sufficiency in things like lettuce, how our greens were now in supermarket shelves, even in St. Kitts. And that is testimony to a government that has vision, inspiring the people to take on board some of the opportunities that are available. And when we look now at the profile of those involved in shade house production on the island, we recognize that a lot of them are really younger people, that people are now using technology, so that it's not so much now being out in the field, so to speak, but using shade house, using hydroponics, greenhouse technology, and the production and the yield from a very small footprint is quite high. And so for me, I felt really proud to hear that the island of Nevis was now leading the sub-region. I wonder if people understand what that is. The island of Nevis is leading the sub-region in shade house production, and that I think is significant. Just as in the sub-region we have pioneered this idea of teaching Mandarin in our schools. I mean, some people take these things for granted, but these things are visionary. These are ideas that, once executed, and they are being executed on the island of Nevis, really propel our island forward in a very significant way. And I just feel so totally grateful to the people of Nevis for the opportunity that they've given me, the opportunity they've given my team to serve them. And at the end of the day, it will be for the people to determine, and they get that opportunity every election. But it gives me that tremendous pride and tremendous sense of achievement and accomplishment that we can point to these things and see how this island is progressing in leaps and bounds. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You are on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Good evening. Good evening. I recognize this voice. I'm well.
Great. Eric here. Listen, I apologize for missing the show last week. I was out. I didn't get a chance to call last week, but I am calling this week. I'm going to speak a little about Culturama. But before I do so, though, I just wanted to pick up a little bit from where you were just speaking about in terms of the strides that we are making in agriculture, because you're absolutely correct, Honorable Premier, especially with regards to the shade house production and the magnificent strides that the island, the small island of Nevis, has been making where this is concerned. And of course, every time we have persons coming from overseas, persons representing regional institutions, international institutions, they always say how impressed they are. And I recall when Mr. Greg Rollins from AICA was here recently, he reiterated as well. And, you know, he was saying how impressed he said every time he comes, he sees improvements. And he was saying, like, you know, places like St. Lucia and those places have been trying so hard to get shade house production off the ground, and they just keep failing. And he keeps saying, I don't know what magic Nevis is working, but whatever you are doing here is just continues to do. You all are doing an excellent job. And of course, as you spoke about that little video that was put together when I did the tour of the shade houses on the island, I got some excellent reviews. And as you rightly said, a lot of the excellent reviews came from our sister island of St. Kitts. I remember when I was in St. Kitts attending the funeral for the late Governor General, when the funeral was over, several persons made it their business to come to me to say how impressed they are with what they are seeing in terms of what is happening on the island of Nevis. One of them was a former minister of Agriculture, Lightbird, and one of them was the former Deputy Governor General, Morton, and several other persons were just saying, I saw this thing, and I'm so impressed. When I come to Nevis, I want a tour, you know. And I mean, we should be proud here on Nevis in terms of what we are doing and what we have accomplished in agriculture and in so many other fields. And people always tend to underestimate what we are doing. And as you rightly say, persons who live here and persons who are in vision and who should love this country, nothing that we do is ever good enough. But the fact is that persons can come from overseas, and our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts can see what an excellent job we are doing. Only on Monday, I went to St. Kitts, me and a contingent from the department, to attend the funeral of one of our colleagues from the vet services down there. And the PS had a discussion with me, and the PS was telling me, the PS from St. Kitts, Mr. Fleming, how impressed he was again with the shade house production on the island of Nevis. And so everybody can't be telling a lie. People are telling the truth, and people are seeing what we are doing, and they're seeing the value of what we are doing. I mean, when I visited the shade houses, when I spoke to the young man there over at Prospect, he said, I cannot get enough leafy greens to sell in the supermarkets. I cannot get enough. I mean, when I am happy, I'm always happy to report that we are almost self-sufficient in lettuce production. Almost self-sufficient in lettuce production. And of course, we know what an outstanding job Mackie and Penny and all of the others are doing in terms of shade house production. We're practically self-sufficient in egg production. We only import eggs during Christmas time. And so the good things continue to happen on the island, but at the same time, people here are trying to drag down our beautiful island and all the excellent strides that we are making. But we will continue to make these strides, and we will continue to shine like a beacon. Nevis will continue to shine because Nevis is nice, and no matter what people say, Nevis will remain nice, and we will continue to develop Nevis to higher heights. As I said, I missed the program last week, so I wanted to call in last week just to give a little wrap-up of Culturama. Of course, we know Culturama 49 is over. Culturama 49 is history now. And I just wanted to say, as the Minister of Culture, how pleased I am in terms of the way things went during the festival. Of course, things are never perfect, and of course we know we had our little problems, our little issues here and there. But overall, generally, I would say that the festival was an excellent one. You know, we had a post-mortem meeting yesterday. We didn't even, I don't think we even finished, from around after 5 till after 9. And I was happy when one of the members of the committee said, and she said it more than once. She said it more than once. She said, you know, if anybody in Nevis who is telling the truth and said that Culturama wasn't good and they didn't feel the vibe, something wrong with them. Yes, she said it more than once. She said, if anybody in Nevis said Culturama wasn't good and they didn't feel any vibe, something wrong with them. Nothing was wrong with the culture. You know, and so the general consensus among the committee members, and I want to publicly thank the committee, the hard-working committee, because of course we cannot pay them for the excellent work that they have. This is voluntary service. This is national service. And I just want to say thank you to the committee for working overtime to ensure that we had a decent and a memorable festival. Decent and memorable festival. Overall, things went well, and we had some excellent reviews about some of the shows. Of course, we know that there's room for improvement, and those are some of the things we were discussing at the meeting. There is room for improvement, yes, but generally, the festival was a huge success. And so really want to say thank you to the committee members. I want to say thanks to the cabinet, the Nevis Island administration, because of course we know Culturama is an expensive undertaking, Premier. I mean, you know that, the cabinet members know that, because normally when I bring the bills, everybody's normally overwhelmed. And so it is an expensive undertaking, and it is funded mostly by the Nevis Island administration. Culturama belongs to all of us in Nevis, and it is funded primarily by the Nevis Island administration. Of course, we get sponsors, and we would have had some additional sponsors come on board this year, and so we want to say hearty thank you to you as well. And of course, it's always good to partner. It's an expensive undertaking, yes, and so the government, sometimes we cannot find the funds to pay all the bills. And so we're always happy when we get partnerships, and so we want to thank our sponsors, and we're looking forward for you to continue support in the years to come. And whatever you can do to increase the sponsorship, we will be looking for that as well. So I really want to thank our sponsors. And Honorable Premier, we've had a reputation for the past couple of years where generally Culturama has been practically accident and incident free of crime and criminality. And thank God this year again, apart from the incident we had on Juve morning, there at Long Point, kudos to the security forces. A big thank you to the security forces for doing an excellent job, a marvelous job. Thank God, incident free in terms of crime and criminality. And I said that incident we had on Juve morning was an unfortunate one, but apart from that, things went very well for the festival. And of course, I want to congratulate all of the winners, or thank all those who participated in, whether in the shows, whether in the parade, whether for Juve. I want to congratulate the winners. And of course, we want to say a big thank you to, we had a lot of persons come home for the festival this year, Premier, and I'm sure you met a lot of them. And I had the good fortune of meeting a lot of them, speaking to a lot of them, because I would have assisted Von Radio with the coverage this year and spoke to a lot of persons. And all of our returning nationals who we spoke to have indicated that they are coming back next year. And they're not only coming back, but they're bringing the entire family. They're bringing numerous persons with them. I remember when I was at Forward Beach, a young lady told me, I'm bringing 12 people with me next year. You know? And so I really want to thank the scores of persons who came. And of course, our brothers and sisters from St. Kitts, a big thank you to you. You came over in your numbers as usual and supported in a huge way. And so I really want to say thanks to all who supported, all who participated, all those who came to the shows, and whatever part you played during Culturama. We want to say thank you. I want to remind persons that next year is a homecoming. And I reminded the committee last evening that the expectations from persons will be very high. Will be very high for Culturama 50. And we will endeavor to do whatever we have to do to ensure that we improve on our shortcomings and we give persons who are in Nevis for Culturama 50 an experience of a lifetime. And so we want to remind persons as well that the slogan competition is open, and you start getting creative.
Slogan competition open already?
Of course.
Oh, wow.
The slogan competition was launched the same evening of the official opening of Culturama. And I want to say as well that when we had the meeting last evening, we understand that ladies are already saying that they're interested in signing up for the Miss Culture for next year.
Wonderful.
So I want to say that, the planning has started for next year. We will ensure that we have a memorable and an exciting festival in 2024, Culturama 50. So once again, I want to remind persons, start booking your tickets. It's going to be a homecoming, and we promise you that you're going to have a great, great festival. So once again, I want to say thanks to everyone, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy with the way things went, and it was indeed a successful festival premiere.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for that. Forgive me, Deputy Premier. Thank you so much for that.
That's no problem. Thank you. And thank you very much for having me as well.
All right.
All right.
Okay, that was the Honorable Eric Evelyn reporting, as he tends to do from time to time. And I really, really appreciate his call and for him to share with us. And of course, I am very happy to hear slogan competitions already open. The excitement is already building for Culturama 50. And the planning is going to start early. Now, I started out the show thanking God and thanking all who were involved in rescuing some boaters who went missing from Nevis, who went missing. And somebody has just sent me, the power again of technology, that I should invite all boaters in Nevis tomorrow, Thursday, August 17th, from 5 to 8 p.m. They're having a session at the Nevis Disaster Management Conference Room in Long Point. Safety at sea, some training. And in St. Kitts, it actually would have happened today already. So tomorrow it's in Nevis from 5 to 8 p.m. Tomorrow night in Nevis at the Disaster Management at Long Point. Safety at sea training. I think that's important. A lot of youngsters now have boats. A lot of our people are taken to the sea. And it's important that you be safe. It's important you be safe. The ocean is a wonderful, wonderful student, but a terrible master. And I believe that we need to be able, if we're going to be out there making a living or we're out there for leisure, that you always emphasize safety. And so this training is going to happen tomorrow in light of what just happened with those youngsters at sea. Training is happening, safety at sea training tomorrow at the Nevis Disaster Management Department Conference Room right there on Long Point from 5 to 8 p.m. We're asking all boaters, fishers, people like that, please go out and be a part of that. I think that that is very important that you do that. While I'm on the air as well, and the Minister of Agriculture called in talking about agriculture, let me big up my Brown Hill team. I want to big up the whole team there from the Brown Hill Management Group. They called me the other day and asked me if I was at home, and I said yes, I'm at home. And they said, listen, we're actually distributing some produce in the community. And I pass them there all the time, working away on the little farm they have there in Brown Hill. And I was so impressed to see that not only the quantity but the quality of produce. In fact, they produce over 300 pounds of cucumbers, which they have supplied to the community and to the local supermarkets, etc. They have a small little shade house that they're using, but on that simple little plot of land, and with the effort from people in the community, they have been producing. So much kudos to Warren and his entire team. There are lots of members of that team who I see they're working. I see Rhonda, I see Lisa, I see Sherry, I see Malva regularly. I see Warren, of course, they're watering all the time. Who else I see there? I think I saw Toad once or twice. I have gone there once or so. But people have been coming and helping out. And I was really, really impressed that the produce that they're that they're getting from that little farm, they're distributing in the community and making it available for persons in need, etc., in the community. I think that that is a phenomenal thing. Something, in fact, a model that I would love to see replicated throughout the island. Could you imagine if in Butlers you had farming in Brick Hill, in Brown Hill, in Churchground, etc., along the same lines, where the community, this is no government involvement. I want to emphasize that, because I think a lot of us have come to the view that everything the government must do, and there's no government involvement. This is the community, the Brown Hill Management Club. They're the ones who have come together, and they're the ones who are doing this production, this farm in Brown Hill, and they're having spectacular results. I think that they really should become a model for what can happen throughout the island. Imagine if that's replicated. Imagine if in Butlers and Brick Hill and Jessops and Barnesgut and everywhere you had a community farm that produce food that, yes, you can sell, but certainly you made available, particularly in the community, to persons in that community. Imagine that. I think it would be a wonderful thing. And when people come home from work and all that, they give a half an hour of their time to help and bring back that spirit of community togetherness. You know, the situation that has developed, sadly, in our island, in our country, is nobody wants to do anything unless somebody's going to pay them. That's the attitude. And I think we need to get away from that. There's so much that we have to be thankful for, and so much that we can give back. And it's important that we engage in this way. So I'm very happy that the community there in Brown Hill is doing this, and I'm grateful, Honorable Eric Evelyn, for your call, because I think that, as always, you've given us a lot to think about. Let me join you in encouraging all of those Nevisians and Kittitians in the diaspora. Next year is Culturama 50. It's a huge celebration, and we are asking you to come home. Bring your families and friends and come home. In fact, Eric, I meant to tell you while you were talking that I had a call from a dear friend in St. Croix, and he raised the issue with me that in St. Croix they were having concerns about flights to Nevis and how they get to Nevis, because Mike, who had been Coastal Air, trusted carrier for all these years, is not now flying. And I did commit, and I will be working with my team to see what we can put in place. If even we can only put it in place around Culturama 50, but something will have to be done, because he's indicating that the interest in St. Croix is extremely strong. But it is difficult for them to have to fly from St. Croix to St. Thomas, and then from St. Thomas to here. As you know, KPA is coming from St. Thomas to Nevis every day, but it's difficult for them to do that. And so I want to commit. I know I have a lot of listeners in St. Croix. I want to say to my good friend there, Mr. Williams, I heard you loud and clear. I committed to you on the radio. I'm on the phone. I'm committing to you now live that we will try to do what we can. But one of the questions he asked me, Eric, if you're still listening, which I thought was interesting, he said people are asking where they're going to stay, because they expect so many people to come home for Culturama 50. Where are people going to stay? Do we have enough hotels? Do we have enough guest houses, etc.? And I said to him, well, I believe that most of us in the diaspora have family at home. So I'm going to have to encourage family to make something available, make that bunk bed available, whatever it is. But I want people home. I want our people to come home. I want our people, who many of whom have not come home for a long time, to come and really see what we're doing in Nevis. By this time next year, we anticipate that the park at Pinny should be nearing completion. The full the second phase that we're doing by the water side, the ocean side, that should be nearing completion, and a lot of the road works and all that will be done. The reception area at Oali will be done, and we really anticipate that we will have Nevis in tip-top shape for our guests as they come in. Incidentally, while I was Eric was on the phone, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, I actually went on Instagram to look for the actress Nia Long, and this is what she said. I'm reading now. She says, my heart belongs to Nevis. My heart belongs to Nevis. That is what the actress Nia Long, famous African-American actress who stayed here with us, that's what she posted on social media. My heart belongs to Nevis. I feel that speaks for itself. it speaks for itself. She then did another post. She said, "Thank you, Four Seasons Nevis, for a great match. We had the most incredible vacation." And then she says in another post, "All I need is Caribbean sun, a good sea bath, soca, and a beach cabana at Four Seasons Nevis. Thank you, Four Seasons Nevis. Peace, peace, the gift of travel." She's an American actress, famous, followed. Let me see again. Let me see how many people follow her. This is important. I don't even know how to read these things. She has 4.5 million followers. And she's saying to her 4.5 million followers, "My heart belongs to Nevis." And you got some kunumono here in Nevis, cussing Nevis every day. Cussing Nevis every day. Everything in Nevis is bad and wrong. And everything in Nevis is corrupt and horrible. And Nia Long comes here and says, "My heart belongs to Nevis." I believe that that is instructive. It shows the stark difference between those who have a spirit of positivity and are trying to project something good and great, and those who are bent on one thing and one thing only, and that is to destroy. That is all interested in, to destroy. No interest in uplifting. Now, I don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I was in opposition once, and opposition legitimately should criticize things that are wrong. But if you truly love this island, as you claim, you should also be willing to lift up Nevis where necessary. But anybody who starts to say something about Nevis and it's bad, Lord, they jump on like it's 4th of July. They jump on like it's Juve morning. Yes, achoo. The other day we were having some difficulties with water. We have come openly, we have said to the public time and time again what the problems are and what we're seeking to do to resolve them. I see one of them go on social media, she come home and she got to catch water in a bucket, and she left here all them years ago and she never catch no water in a bucket, and what Nevis coming to, and this and that and the other. Making it appear as if that is the norm. That is not the norm in Nevis. We are having a problem right now. We're having a crisis right now, and we have said to the public, yes, we are having a crisis, but we are working on a solution for that crisis. We have given regular updates. But they come and they create this impression everything about Nevis is negative. The island is dirty. The people now work. This lady who ran against me, we are the most poverty in St. John's. That's her claim. Everything is negative. Well, we have some poverty in St. John's. We're opening a little Freco shop now and hire 2 youngsters from Brownhill and 2 from Bath. Help! But that is not their interest. Their interest is continually to tell us how bad we are, how wrong everything here is. Right? You're driving down, you have miles of good road. The heavy rains come and a pothole is created somewhere. They're going to take a picture of the pothole. And that is what they broadcast. Oh, watch this big pothole. As if America don't have pothole. England don't have pothole. In fact, the other day, they had one of them, a candidate here in town, going around taking picture of everything. If she see a window and the hinge is coming off, she take a picture. She see a place need painting, she take a picture. She see a pothole, she take a picture. I myself, as I wonder, I pray that she don't get hit by a car when she bending over in the road to take picture of pothole. Because it was a constant thing every day. Oh, this, look at that. Oh, this is wrong. This is look at a pothole. When I saw one of them put out about a pothole, a friend of mine in New York sent me a whole video. She said, I am living here in the Bronx, and look at this. And I believe Nevis could have fit in the pothole that was on her street in the Bronx. The whole of Nevis could have fit in the pothole. Because if you go in there, you're going to find a civilization in there. That was not ordinary pothole. And me say, this is in New York City. New York City. I mean, it's just crazy that the constant negativity and the constant just efforts to degrade. Who do they think they're degrading me? They can't degrade me. They're degrading Nevis. That's what they're doing, you know. That's what they're doing. Any little thing happens here that is wrong or bad, That is what they amplify. So much good. And here's Nia Long. Let me say it again. My heart belongs to Nevis. Beautiful American actress. Let's go back to the phones. Caller, please call back. 469-1616, 469-1700. Apologize to you for that. But if you can call back, we'll take your call now. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is the point that I've been trying to make. We need to uplift. Because Nevis is all we have. I don't know about some, but we don't have no other passport. This is where I want to be. And this is where God has said to me, I need to be. Let me go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
You know, whenever you're talking on this subject, right, it really bothers me to hear that Nevisions is calling down Nevis. I don't know who these people are. Well, I hear a few people saying some things. I don't bother with them. But it might be that those people don't travel. I don't know whether they travel. Because every place has its own good and something that is not so good. So I don't know. I just find that some people, they focus too much on politics and politicians, as if to say it's only politicians who can build countries. I for one believe it's the people who build country more than the government. It's people working hard for themselves and building up themselves. The government will create the environment for that, but I believe it's people working hard for themselves and building up themselves that really do the brunt of the building of any country. The government is there to assist and help them in that regard, but I believe it's the people who do that themselves. You know, I wonder also if these people who are doing these things, how old they are, you know, if them are what people call Johnny come lately, because honestly, the amount of things that I have seen change in Nevis in the past 30, 40 years, where we came from, you know, it has a song. It's a, if you can see and if you can walk and if you can talk, be thankful for what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Be thankful for what you got, because to some folks, these things would mean a lot. I have to thank God that I have been around a couple places, and I have seen with my own eyes France, England, Africa, South America, Central America, the United States, and quite a few countries in the West Indies here. And I keep telling people, I don't know why you're comparing. Each country has what it has. I was talking with a young man the other night down by the Penny's Beach, and he criticizing. And one of the things that I notice many times is the people who are criticizing. Some of them is well-to-do and still criticizing. I don't know why. And then there's some again who will not try to better themselves and just think that something is just going to fall in their lap. Man, I worked hard in this country till now, my back worn out. And I give God thanks, because I am not even going to credit no government. I will just say the amount of improvements I see in Nevis. Sometimes I just have to say thank you, Almighty God. I remember when you came over Bellevue. I remember the time when you walk over Bellevue, mm-hmm. and you look eastward, you hardly would have seen a building. You don't remember them time there.
Mm-hmm.
You're too young.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was living in Bath for many years. I'm not over there now. I'm not over there, but I still have property there, so I have occasion to go over there. And every time I come up and I drive over Bellevue, and when I reach and top coming up there by government house and I cast my eyes. I say, oh my God, this is the Nevis? Look at buildings. Beautiful buildings. I know Nevis have some of the best buildings.
Of course, of course.
Because we have some of the best tradesmen in these Caribbean. The reason being 40, 50 years ago, we didn't have many industries, so a lot of our young men went into the building trades, and we have some very good skilled tradesmen here. And I don't know why some people would want to call down their own country. Just because you feel, well, maybe the party that is in power, you don't support people, must understand. You don't have to support a party. You have a choice to support which party you want. But that has nothing to do with you calling down your country. I am telling you, regardless to who in power, I am so proud of Nevis. I'm telling you. You know, and then some of them again, they compare Nevis and St. Kitts, and I had to say to some people the other night, St. Kitts is St. Kitts, and St. Kitts has what it has. Nevis is Nevis, and Nevis has what's that, and both of them complement each other. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Don't expect Nevis to be. You want Nevis to be St. Kitts. You want St. Kitts to be Nevis. You want Nevis to be Trinidad. Nevis is Nevis, and Trinidad is Trinidad. And learn to appreciate what you have. Anyway, another thing again, right? That kind of disgusts me over this Culturama. Some people are using the Culturama for their own agenda and saying some things about public officials which I don't think have any place in Culturama. People need to think what they're doing and what they're saying. You don't have to agree with certain things, but you must be careful. You're supposed to respect authority. And you can criticize them, but to say use some kind of language I don't agree with. Anyway, good night.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. I mean, I think I know where you're going with this. The question is sometimes not the criticism, because the criticism will come, but the language. I think particularly in the Calypso, a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the Calypsonians are trying to make commentary, but the wit in the Calypso isn't there. So it comes off as being vulgar rather than witty. And I think that's part of the problem. But it's an art form. We hope that it will continue to develop. But caller, you make a very important point. I think, is somebody holding? Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night.
Good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I just want to congratulate you for your tone. I've been listening for more than 20 years now, for your tone that you've now gone to as leader of the Nevis Island administration. But I think that you must remember that you are one of the harshest critics, and so sometimes what you plan to come back to you. But I don't believe that we could solve and build any country if we don't come together, and you as leader should reach out to the opposition and help them to come in to help form a proper government for Nevis. You're not reaching out sufficient. And I think that you should be reaching out rather than what we've been set up by this Westminster system of divide and rule. We have to form a system that brings us together and help the opposition to be part of the government, because this Westminster system is failing us. And instead of we talk about the system, we're talking about individuals. The same system, the same thing you were doing, they're doing now back to you. We're not discussing the system and the faults of the system. The system is what makes us in one another truth. It's a divide and rule system, and we must correct that system in order to have better relationship. Once the system remains in place, it will be like that to and fro, because it's like the crab in a barrel. We're pulling no one to go in. I want to say that it is not a good thing to be really calling on any country you live in, especially when you're from that country. But we must work together. It is an imperative that Nevis and St. Kitts and St. Nevis work together, because the division in the small little island, it don't sound good.
Okay, caller, I hear you. I understand what you're saying. You started out by saying that I was one of the harshest critics, and you're absolutely correct. But there's a difference. There's a difference. between criticizing policy that a government may have and downgrading and degrading the island that you're from. I believe there's a fundamental difference between those two things.
Let me give you an example included.
Yes.
You, one time in Parliament, said to Douglas, you don't shake certain people's hand. That is as a policy? No, it's personal.
Who said you don't shake certain people's hand?
You tell Douglas you don't shake certain people's hand.
No, sir, not me. I don't recall ever saying that.
You said drug dealer. You said drug dealer's hand. You don't get it. You said in Parliament you don't shake drug dealer's hand. You're referring that to Douglas. That's not a policy. That is your personal thing.
No, well, caller, I don't think that is me, because I have never engaged in that kind of language in the Parliament. Not me.
Of course, I heard it.
I don't shake drug dealers' hand.
I'm over 50. Yeah, you told Douglas that. And it remained with me from that time till now, in my memory.
Well,
because something happened after that, and it comes right back on in a circle. But anyway, I think the system must be changed.
All right.
And the second thing I want to do before I go is you to join me to call for commission inquiry into the Royal St. Kitts Nevis Police Force, especially at the tenure of C.J. Warren. There were some serious things happening in Nevis and St. Kitts under the tenure of C.J. Warren, and it has caused some serious hurt even up to today. I had to flee from the country because the police was trying to eliminate me, C.J. Warren. And the St. Kitts, and there are things that happen in Nevis that Mr. Hilroy Brantley spoke about, and nobody thinking about. Hilroy Brantley, as the chief of Nevis division, said that C.J. Warren was sending people to his division without his notice and not put in the press. Nobody pick up that. It's something wrong. It's an anomaly. We have to go back and make things straight. Give thanks.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And certainly, you talk about commission of inquiry, but if anything illegal was done to you or to anyone else, there's a court system that can also address that. What I will say, though, caller, going back, because you are telling me that you are aware that I said certain things, and I understand in the heat and the cut and thrust, but I have always prided myself that in my utterances, particularly in the Parliament, that I conduct myself in a particular way. And no matter how heated it has got, I don't recall ever saying anything about not shaking drug dealers' hands in reference to Dr. Douglas. I have never ever crossed those kinds of lines. So I'm surprised that you're attributing that to me. And I hope that your recollection is faulty and that my recollection is correct. I am, however, making the case that there's a difference between criticizing a government or criticizing a government's policy and continually putting out statements and commentary that brings down the country. To me, those are two different things. I'll get back to that because I have people holding. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, that caller isn't there. So, caller, I was just saying there's a difference. For example, let's try this caller then. Let's go back. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Premier Brantley.
Yes, good night to you.
Congratulations to you for becoming the leader of the party once again.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to read for you tonight Ephesians. I'm reading from Ephesians chapter 5, and I'm reading 2 verses. Be ye therefore followers of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for sweet-smelling savor. Good night and all the best to you. May God richly bless you and family.
Thank you very, very much for your scriptures, and thank you for your kind words as well. I sincerely appreciate it. Let's stick with the phones. Go back and say good evening. You're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, that caller doesn't want to talk to us. So
good night to you.
Yes.
How you night,
Oh, you're on the phone now. All right. The night is going fine.
Good to hear your voice, man. You're just rising in the strength of the world.
Absolutely. How are you?
Well, good night to your listeners via radio and internet. I heard a clip there previously on the news live with Andrew Hewitt with Glenn Bart giving a report on the visit from the United States representative to St. Kitts and Nevis when he come to Chetomal.
Yes.
So I'd just like to know what the details.
You just like to know what?
What the details, what outlined in that discussion with those representatives from your view in Nevis counterpart. And
well, I spoke about that earlier in the show. I did report that we met, we had a working session, and we are looking at ways that the U.S. government can continue to participate in this particular project. They have been involved for many, many years now in terms of providing support, technical assistance, and so we are seeking to see how they can perhaps do a bit more. So they came here specifically to have a look at that project, and we visited the site up at Hamilton. So I reported on all that already earlier in the show.
Yeah, because I was in the mountains, so when I come down, I just tune into your phone. So my apology, please.
Okay, no, that's all right. That's all right. You could probably take a listen tomorrow if you have the time. Okay.
Well, I will be in a funeral in St. Paul's, and my cousin will pay in from the joining of the youth. So I have to be in St. Paul's tomorrow at the funeral.
Okay, well,
the thing I would like to put forward. Now, three things that Nevis is now embarking on the independence celebration, and it's situated for 40 years now. We'd like to know when it will be the full context of formulating a better status in the Constitution, that we won't have those kind of Mickey Mouse game that was outlined in the previous election that just gone, and especially the one on in the 2015 with the motion of no confidence that you still went in and say you all outlined, and then still when you all look at it in the 2022, there was a rejection handed down by the former Attorney General, the former Governor General, who's now gone to the great beyond. So I put in this question to you as being the leader of the opposition. Will you take that matter and feel that the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis get a better changing factor than what was delivered in 1983?
Well, it is time for us to look at the Constitution. In fact, there is going to be some debates for... I said it is time for us to look at the Constitution. There will be some debates happening as part of the Independence 40 celebrations. I believe I myself am part of a panel which will be here at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park on tomorrow, I think it is, tomorrow evening, if memory serves. And we will be discussing constitutional reform. So, caller, we look forward to that discussion and some of those issues that will be on the table. So thank you for your call. We have about 10 minutes left, so if there are callers out there who want to come in, 869-469-1616 and 1700. I was going back to a point that I was seeking to make. There's a difference between criticizing government policy on a particular issue and talking about our island and country in a way that degrades it. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. If the island is going through a situation, for example, of crime, that there is crime on the island, or that there is drought on the island leading to difficulties with water, whatever the situation may be, that you can, for example, say that the government needs to do this or that, or you're not happy the government is doing enough. But when you instead say, oh, the country is this, and see, nobody come down, don't visit, because if you visit, you might get killed. If you go up the hospital, you're going up, they go dead. This kind of thing. I think that's a fundamentally different thing. And that's the difference that I was making. And I think that some people don't seem to understand that you can be in opposition. You can articulate a different viewpoint. You can criticize government's policies. But there is a line that you don't cross when it comes to degrading the country that you say you love. And I believe that people out there should appreciate what I'm saying in terms of that difference. I welcome opposition. I welcome the debate. Anybody out there wants to debate. I just announced a brand new policy about helping single parents with daycare that will be launched on the 4th of September. If there are people who say that's a bad policy, then call in and say so. But when you're calling, you start to cuss Nevis and drag down Nevis. Start to even make up lies. Oh, school infested with cockroach. Outbreak of this, outbreak of that. That's what the opposition has been doing in Nevis. And that's what I'm commenting on. You're seeking to degrade. Nothing happening in Nevis. All indicators say that Nevis economy is growing. And growing significantly. Jobs are up, but nothing happening in Nevis. That is the mantra. Doesn't make any sense. Let's go back to the phones. Caller, please call back in, 469-1616 or 469-1700. We have about 8 minutes left, so we can accommodate a few calls. And that caller is the difference. And I believe that we need to listen, and not just listen to respond, but listen to understand, because we have a democracy here which is lively. It is raucous at times, but it is important. And there'll be difference of views in a democracy. But attack the government's policy. Don't attack your country. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hi, good evening, Premier Brantley.
Good evening to you.
And also to Deputy Premier, Mr. Evelyn. Mr. Evelyn, I mentioned your name last week, but I said you're probably taking a rest from being in your masquerade suit for Culturama. And Mr. Evelyn, you don't bother with them. As the saying goes, 100 Frenchmen can be wrong. I'm not certain if they say 100 or 1,000. So you don't bother with them. As Mark does say, ignore the noise. Yeah. And also to the lady who was calling on your program with the scriptures, I want to continue to tell her, do a good job. Mark people is something else, you know, and you really can't please them. Now the lady that calling and says she's scripture, she don't say nothing else. They're complaining to you about the lady. If she used to call in and talk politics, they would say she always a talk politics. Mm-hmm. She talking the word of God, they still got a problem with that. So how to really please them?
Well, you know, that's the thing, because that's all they do is criticize.
Because I'm well, not now, but a few years ago, I used to be a regular caller to the different talk shows, and you know, I am a grown woman. I'm 49 years old, and people calling me mother and telling me, mother, oh, she calling into the program and she calling in again. I mean, and they hope I don't be calling in on my job. I'm not so stupid. And even if I call in on a program, but they're doing calling me mother, they don't pay me bill. So people taking people, you know, making it their business. And a lot of them who calling in and other call and see you are calling and the program and criticize, when you look, they have more dirty habits than you. My thing is calling in. As Sugar Bowl say, everybody like what they like. Some people, they drink their rum, they smoke, they don't support the children. I mean, that's them. But if the lady wants to call in and say she's scripture, that's the lady's business. Mm-hmm. And I mean, nothing is wrong if she bless your program with a little scripture. So, I mean, if they're talking about God, who is me and you to talk about?
Well, I totally agree with you, and she does that of her own volition. And nobody has ever asked her, but that's that's her way of contributing.
Making it theirs.
That's her way of contributing. And you realize a lot of people who
continue.
But you realize, call a lot of people who will criticize. They don't call and contribute anything themselves, you know.
No.
And that is the concern that I have.
I call in that they're going to tell me, mother, I'm a big woman, I work it for myself. What I got to do with my mother? What she going to do? Me bang me?
All right.
They ain't paying me phone bill.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
Good night and get home safely.
All right.
And answer to the lady and Mr. Evelyn.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
All right. We have 5 minutes left. We're taking some more calls. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. I thought there was a caller there. No? Okay. Yes, let's go back to the phones. Good evening, caller. Hello? Hello? Okay, this caller doesn't want to talk to us. If you're calling, please, numbers are 469-1616, 469-1700. If you can call in, when you call, you know, it's an important show. You have a big platform to state your views. Please use a platform to state your views rather than just calling and not saying anything, because that's not helpful. So if you can call back, caller, if you do want to be a part of the show. We have a few minutes left. So I believe, and as I said, you know, I think that there's a stark difference between debating the issues, which is important, and degrading our island home, and that bothers me deeply. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're on the air. Go ahead.
All right. Let me turn this thing down. You know, I'm one of your regular commentators on your morning, you know, verses or whatever you want to call them. I'm always commenting on them.
Okay.
So you know what my issue is with, and I am way out of the country, but my issue with our people is, you know, the constant, like you said, putting down of the island. But yet I'm out here, way out here, thousands of miles away, hearing Nevis is nice, Nevis is beautiful, You know, so it's coming out of one part of their mouth, and then another part of their mouth they're putting down the country. And you're right. You cannot put your country down to other people because there's no one that's going to put their country down for you.
Mm-hmm.
So respect where you're from. You know, whatever you can do to contribute, help, just do it and keep your mouth shut. I honestly think that you are doing an amazing job. And I have not been home in like 30 years, but I hear people keep saying, it's nice, it's nice, it's nice. And I see the videos and it's nice, it's nice, it's nice. Just let's help one another and build the country a little bit more and be careful of what you say to others about your country.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Leona Swanson, and I approve this message.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yes, and I recognize the name for sure, so thank you. And if you've been away for a while, you need to come see us.
I know. I'm trying.
Next year we have the big. Next year we have the big 50. So you need to come home for Culturama 50.
Listen, I am going to have to bring a GPS with me, but I'm thinking about it.
All right. Good.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, and thank you for your call. This is what it's all about, and this caller makes a point. I see no matter how bad people say things might be in Jamaica, Guyana. You hear Guyanese cussing Guyana? You hear Jamaicans cussing Jamaica? They may be living here, but they now cuss the country. But some of them here in Nevis, they join with others. Nevis is the worst place in the world. Let me go back to the phones. Our final call for the evening. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, caller. This caller seems to be up to just pranks and foolishness all night. I don't know why. But caller, please, again, I'm just appealing to our public. This show is a serious show. It's a serious platform. If you have something to say, call in and say what you have to say. It's not a platform for, little foolishness. All right? So let's desist from that. We can do better. Our final call then. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening.
Yes, caller. You have to be quick. We have 30 seconds. Caller? Hello? Okay, that caller doesn't seem to want to talk to us for the 30 seconds. I apologize. But we've come to basically almost to the end of the show. Is that caller still on the line? Hello?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, well, go ahead, please.
Mark, you're doing a great job for the Highlands. That is what I have to say. You're doing a great job. You can't study these people here. You can't study them. When you study them, they want to run mad. You're doing a great job, and they say you're doing bad. When you do bad, they say you do good. What they want to do? Mark, keep the good work up.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much for that. I think we are at the 10 o'clock hour. And that means that the show is now coming to an end. I want to thank all the callers. I want to thank those who participated. The banner struck up. That's always our signal that we have to go. The show is rebroadcast right here at 1 p.m. tomorrow. I am truly, truly grateful for all those who were tuning in online, those who called in. I thought we had a good show tonight. Good exchange of views. And I thank the public for always keeping the show as a popular show. One that continues to attract positive attention and positive listenership. So thank you very much. Thank you to all who called. Many called from overseas. I appreciate that. Many who are on the live commenting from overseas. And I promise and commit myself to continue to do the very best that we can. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, and may God bless and keep you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the